Hello guys, today I'm just making a video on some basics insights on how to solve 5 questions related to the topic 3D Pythagoras and trigonometry. I know many of you guys have this topic for your exams, so hopefully this video might help you all to solve some of these questions and be able to understand it more easily. And and if you guys have enjoyed the video, please do like, share, and subscribe to the channel. It really helps a lot, and do enjoy the video. Alright, let's begin with the first question. The first question states that the diagram shows a cuboid which is about A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and where AE is equal to 4 centimeters, AD is equal to 5 centimeters, DC is equal to 8 centimeters, and you have to calculate the length of AG. Now you have to give your answer to correct to about 3 significant figures. So after analyzing this question, what we're going to do is we're going to just do a little bit of drawing. So I'm just going to zoom in at this question. Alright, so we're going to just zoom in. So you have AE to be about 4 centimeters. We're just going to write it down. I would advise you guys to just write down these values when dealing with these type of questions. And we know that AD is about 5 centimeters. We know that DC is about 8 centimeters. So now the first thing that you need to observe is to calculate the length of AG. So you have to draw like a straight line from A all the way to G. And once you do that, you're going to draw a straight line all the way from A to G again. So now what does this do? We have to calculate the value of what AC is. So what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to draw a small triangle here, and I'm just going to call this A, G, and C. Technically, I'm just taking this from the equation itself, from the diagram itself. So AGC. We know that we have to calculate the length of AG, but we need to understand that we have to find out what GC is and AC is. Indirectly, since we know what EA is, EA, we can just say that EA is technically what they call that. Let's just call it AE, since the question states that AE is equal to 4 centimeters. We know that AE is equal to GC. That's because this is a cuboid. The sides of it kind of like equal. So you have AE is equal to GC. That's about 4 centimeters. All right. This reason correlates is because the square, or let's say not the square, like BCGF is equal to ADHE. So that's why they're kind of equal to each other. So we know what GC is. It's 4 centimeters. Now, what about AC? After analyzing that, we know that AC has the sides DC and AD. So we're just going to draw another right angle triangle again. These two are right angle triangles. So we have ACD. We know that DC is about 8 centimeters. We know that AD is about 5 centimeters. Now, in order to find out AC, we're going to use the Pythagoras theorem, which is the hypotenuse, which is squared, is equal to the height plus the base, which is squared again. So the hypotenuse in this case is going to be AC. And what we're going to do is just going to remove the square, put a square root, where the height in this case is CD. It's going to be 8 square plus the base 5 square. So indirectly, we're just going to find out the value of AC. Now the value of AC, we can either leave it in a surd or as a decimal. Or what I would advise you guys is to leave it as a surd, since it's much better, or you can leave it as a decimal if you guys like, but I prefer to leave it as a surd in this case. So we know that AC is the square root of 89. Now if I draw this triangle here, just for more clarification, so you have A, G, and C. So we know that GC is about 4 centimeters. We know that AC is the square root of 89. Now in order to find out what AG is, we're just going to use the Pythagoras theorem again. So we have hypotenuse square is equal to the height squared plus the base square. So now what you're going to do is you're going to write AJ is equal to the square root of the height, which is 4 square, 4 raised to the power of 2, plus the square root of 89, which is also squared as well. Okay, so once you do that, we're going to get a surd value of about, I'm just going to put this in the calculator, guys, because you have to find out the value. So you have about square root of 100 and let's say 105. So it's equivalent to about 10.24. Now the question directly states that you have to give your answer correct to 3 significant figures. So in this case you have 1, 2, 3. So that's going to leave it about 10.2 centimeters. Now this is going to be your answer for this type of question. Now I know this is kind of like a lengthy process. In order to do that, you can speed up the process with another formula. It's also known as where L square plus let's say the width square plus the height square is equal to the diagonal length. And now you guys can use this formula where you can speed up the process. But I was just guys, I was just showing you how to do it using Pythagoras theorem, where you can easily understand the equation and how to find the length AJ. So I prefer this method. You guys can follow any method you guys like. And yeah, let's move on to the next question. So now the next question states that you know that the diagram shows a triangle prism, where we know the length of CD is equal to 7 centimeters, and we know that AD is equivalent to 10 centimeters. So now what does this mean is that the angle FDC is equal to 30 degrees. We have to calculate the size of angle AFC. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw another triangle again, where we're going to write AFC. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a straight line all the way from point A to point F. So 3D Pythagoras and trigonometry is where they have integrated trigonometry into Pythagoras theorem, like into these diagrams of solid shapes. That's how you have to understand. You have from A to C. Once you do that, you're going to have to find two angles in this case. Now, the first procedure of doing this question is to find out what is the side of FC. So if you're going to just draw a straight, let's just say we're going to draw a right angle triangle. In this case, it's going to be about 30 degrees. Since you know that's about 30 degrees, we know what we're going to do, right? In order to find out what side FC is all about, just by finding FC indirectly, we can find out the, let's say, the angle of AFC, right? So you have your triangle DFC. We know that DC is about 7 centimeters. We know that angle FDC is 30 degrees. So what you're going to use is you're going to use a trick called SOHCAHTOA. So SOHCAHTOA is a trick. Alright, so you're going to use that in order to find out or solve this type of questions. So if you look, we have to find out the opposite in this case. We have to find out the adjacent as well. So we are given the adjacent, but we have to find out the opposite. Now, in order to do this, you have to use tan, so where you have tan theta, in this case it's going to be tan 30, is equal to the opposite, which is FC, divided by the adjacent, which in this case is about 7. And you're just going to cross multiply this to find out FC. Once you do that, you have tan 30. What you're going to do is you're going to write tan 30 times 7 in your calculator. You should be getting a value of about 4.041. So I'm just going to leave it as that, since it's about to one decimal place. So better leave it as to these many places. Alright, now we have what FC is. We have to find out the value of AC. Now, in order to find out the value of AC, we're going to write a triangle ACD. Alright, so ACD means we were given the value of DC to be about 7 centimeters and AD to be about 10 centimeters. Now, to find out AC, you're just going to use Pythagoras theorem again. You guys should be really good at Pythagoras theorem in order to solve this. So you have square root of the height squared plus the base squared. Once you do that, you should be getting it in a surd form or decimal form. We're going to leave it as a surd form. So you have square root 149, square root 149. So now, if I draw another triangle again, this is going to be AF. In this case, it's going to be C. We know that FC is equivalent to 4.041 centimeters. We know that AC is the square root of 149. Now, if we do the same right angle, let's say the same right angle theorem, right angle triangle, is that we get an opposite, and there's adjacent. So once you do that, you're going to use tan. So you have an inverse of tan theta. Basically, theta is equal to tan inverse of the opposite. In this case, is square root 149 divided by the adjacent, which is 4.041. Once you do that, theta just means an unknown angle. Alright, guys, you're going to put tan inverse in your calculator. Once you do that, do check out the calculator video. It's pretty interesting as well. Once you do that, you're going to get a value of about value of about 71.68 degrees. Now this is your angle for AFC. All I've done is I've just combined Pythagoras theorems together and done a bit of SOHCAHTOA, trigonometry. So that's all. It's very simple, guys. You guys can do it as well. So you have the to one decimal place, so that means you have 71.7 degrees. This is going to be your final answer, 71.7 degrees, in order to calculate this. Alright, let's move on to the next question. There seems to be very limited space in this. Okay, so second question is about the diagram shows a pyramid, and the base of the pyramid ABCD is a square, where AB is equivalent to 5 centimeters and the point E is 10 centimeters vertically above the base. Now you have to calculate the size of angle EAC. Now you have to calculate the size of angle EAC. Now this is pretty interesting, is that if we draw like some sort of diagonal from point A to C, you're going to see something. So you have to calculate the size of angle EAC. So you have to visualize this, and you have to find out this angle here. Now once you do that, well, what are the points that you need in order to calculate this? So first of all, we're given that AB is equivalent to 5 centimeters. So since it's a pyramid, and we know that the base of the pyramid ABCD is a square, all sides of the square are equivalent to each other. So we know that AB is equal to AD is equal to DC is equal to 5 centimeters. So this is 5 centimeters, this is 5 centimeters. Alright, okay. Once you do that, we're going to calculate the value of AC, since we're going to just take this rectangle, right angle triangle, and since you have to know that all angles in a square is equivalent to 90 degrees, so that makes it kind of like that makes it a square, so we can easily find a right angle triangle in it. So you have ACD, where DC is equivalent to 5 centimeters, AD is 5 centimeters as well. What you're going to do is you're going to use Pythagoras theorem again, where AC is equivalent to the square root of 5 square plus 5 square. That is the height square plus base square. This is Pythagoras theorem. Again, guys, you guys got to be strong in Pythagoras theorem. So once you do that, you have 5 square root 2, and you have 7.071. I'm just going to leave it as a cert, since it's much simplified and better. So you have AC. Once you have AC, you have to find out what angle EAC is. Now, in order to find out what angle EAC is, you're going to do is you're going to take some midpoint of the line AC. That's the only way where you can find out this value. So what I'm going to call this, I'm just going to call this point X. Now in order to find out X, all we need to do in order to find out what AX is, you have to just do AC divided by 2. So you have 5 square root 2 divided by 2, which is going to give you about, let's say divided by 2 should give you about 3.53. If we leave this as, actually we're going to leave it as a decimal, it's better. So if we leave it as a decimal, 5.5, let's leave it as a decimal, so that's 3.535. That's going to be your AX value, centimeters, and we're just going to write centimeters there. Once you do that, you should be getting a value. Since we know that point E is 10 centimeters vertically above the base, we know that we're just going to draw a small triangle here, where we know that AEX, where AX is equal to 3.535, and EX is going to be 10 centimeters vertically above the base. And that's going to be easy to find out what angle EAX is. Sorry guys about that. So I was just getting the naming of the triangles right. So once you do that, you have the opposite, you have the adjacent. You're just going to use tan theta again in this case, where theta is equal to tan inverse of the opposite 10 divided by the adjacent 3.535. Once you do that, you have the tan inverse of 10 divided by 3.535. Square root that, should be getting a value of about 70.53. So you're just going to leave it as, we're going to round it off to one decimal place. So that's going to be about 70.5 degrees. This is going to be your answer. So your theta angle, or we're going to call this angle EAC, is going to be equivalent to 70.5 degrees. Now this should be about 4 marks. So hopefully you guys have understood this concept. Now let's move on to the next question. Next question states that the diagram shows a triangular prism. Okay. and where CD is equal to 20 centimeters, AD is equal to 30 centimeters, angle ADC is equivalent to 35 degrees. Now you calculate the size of the angle the line AF makes with the plane ABCD. Give your answers correct about 3 significant figures. Now what this means is, since you've given some values here, clearly you have to calculate the size of the angle AF. So we're just going to draw a straight line from point A to point F. It's going to draw a straight line from point A to point F, which makes with the plane ABCD. So what that means is you have to find out the angle of FAC. It's going to find out the angle of, let's say, FAC. Alright, so once you do that, what you're going to do is you have to find this angle. So the first thing is we have to find out what FC is. Alright, that's the only way this is going to work. So you're going to draw another mini triangle where it's going to be written FDC, where you have the angle here is about 35 degrees. I'm just taking this from the question again. 20 centimeters. We have to find out what FC is. You're going to use the opposite. Just in your trigonometry has to be strong. We're going to use the concept of SOHCAHTOA. Once you do that, once you do SOHCAHTOA, you're going to use tan since it's opposite and adjacent. So you have tan theta. Tan theta in this case is 35 degrees is equal to opposite FC divided by adjacent 20 centimeters, which you're going to multiply together. So FC is going to be tan 35. Remember guys, tan 35 times 20. It's very critical that you guys understand this. So it's going to be about 14 centimeters. 14 centimeters is going to be what FC is. Now once you have FC, we have to calculate what AC is. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw a mini triangle again, and we're going to say the lines ACD. We know what CD is. It's about 20 centimeters. We know what AD is. It's going to be 30 centimeters. I've just taken this from the question again. We have to find out what AC is. Now, in order to find out what AC is, if we just remove this, AC is equivalent to the square root of the height squared plus the base squared. This is Pythagoras theorem again. Alright, so you have AC is equal to square root of 20 square plus 30 square. Once you do that, you'll be getting a surd. We're going to leave it as a surd. So you have 10 square root 13, 10 square root 13. Okay, once you do that, it's going to be AC is equivalent to 10 square root 13. Now, we have found out what AC is. We have found out what FC is. Now we can easily use these two values. I'm just going to draw another mini triangle again. So there's about 3 right angle triangles being drawn here. So it's very critical that you guys understand this. So you have AFC. So we know that FC is about 14 centimeters, and we know that AC is 10 square root 13. Now all we need to do is just find out what angle FAC is, because that is the size of the angle the line AF makes with the plane ABCD. This angle here. So now you have opposite and you have adjacent. There's a lot of tan being used here as well. So you have tan theta. What you're going to do is you're going to do the theta is equal to tan inverse of the opposite 14 divided by the adjacent 10 square root 13, based on the formula where your angle FAC is going to be equivalent to about 3 significant figures. I'm just going to round this up. All I'm doing is I'm just using a calculator as well, guys. So I'm just going to put these values together to give you a value of about 21.2. Now this is going to be your answer in degrees. So you're just going to write it down as degrees, and it's going to be about 4 marks. So you guys can score that 4 marks. So you have 21.2 degrees. That's your answer, which you're going to use. So all I've done is I found out what AC is, I found out what FC is, and I've used SOHCAHTOA to find out what the angle FAC is. Alright, let's move on to the last question. Now the last question is kind of not part of 3D-Pythagoras and trigonometry, but it's kind of involving a bit of Pythagoras theorem. So this is giving us the concept idea of what Pythagoras is. So you have a television which has a diagonal length of about 15 inches. So we're going to analyze this. We're just going to draw a small, let's say a rectangle or square, it doesn't matter what it is. So we're just going to draw a diagonal, and it's going to be called 50. Now the ratio of the length of the television, right, to the width of the television is 4 to 3. So what we're going to do is we're going to let x be a value. Let x be a length value. Let's say let x be a value or something, right? We're just assuming that x is a certain value that we have to multiply in order to find out the length. So you have the length is about 4x, alright, and we know the width is going to be about 3x, and the length is going to be about 4x. And once you do that, it's going to reload the system again. So you have 3x. Now what you're going to do is you have to calculate the length and the width of the television, and they've given you the diagonal length. All you need to do is just use Pythagoras theorem. So you're going to have the hypotenuse squared is equal to the head squared plus the base squared. Head just represents a height. Now the hypotenuse, which is given to us as 50, we're going to equate this. So you're going to write this first. The height in this case is, let's say, 3x, which is going to be squared, plus the base, which is 4x, which is going to be squared, is equivalent to the hypotenuse, which is squared again. Once you do that, you will be getting a value of about 9x squared plus 16x squared is equal to 2,500. Okay. Once you do that, you're going to add these together, and you have 9 plus 16x is to be given about as 25x squared is equal to 2,500. X is going to be the square root of 2,500 divided by 25. All I've done is I've just simplified it together. 2,500 divided by 25 give you a value of about 10. Once you do that, your length in this case is 4x. So you have 4 times x, which is a value, which is going to give you the actual length to be about 40 inches. So that's going to be answer. And your width is going to be 3x. That's going to be 3 times 10, which is it's just a value of assumption. So yeah, 3 times 10 is going to be 30. So now it's technically not an assumption, but it's just a value that you're going to multiply in order to find out the actual length. So the answer in this case is going to be 40 and 30. So the length is 40 inches and the width is 30 inches. So this seems to be the end of the video, and if you guys have enjoyed the video, please do like, share, and subscribe to the channel. It really helps a lot. And yeah, do comment below on what your thoughts are, on whether I should continue solving questions related to certain topics in maths, or continue solving past paper related questions. Yeah, I think that's it, guys. Otherwise, yes, just enjoy the video and stay motivated. I think that's it. Bye, guys.